My name is Álvaro Porras. I am the Manager of Talent Development Services for Career Partners International in Houston. Over the last 18 years in my career, I've helped thousands of individuals in transition or job search identify strategies that increase their ability to find the most appropriate job possible in the least amount of time. In other words, find the job that they want rather than whatever job they can get. The purpose of this series of videos is to do the same thing for you. Whether you've been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic or any other reason, or simply want to change jobs, our goal again is to equip you with the tools and techniques necessary to have an effective job search strategy. We're going to focus on the next 3 videos in having a solid communication strategy. And that includes your resume, answering commonly asked questions, all the way to the interview and showing your value proposition. For this first video, we're going to focus on the content of what your branding statement or your branding in general needs to have and how to be sure that you're emphasizing the right things. Let's take a look at what the objectives will be for this video. First, we need to understand the hiring process and what your resume is going to go through in order to be considered for a position. So we're going to take a look at the hiring process from the company's perspective rather than through the applicant's perspective. Second, we're going to identify the key information that you need in order to make a powerful personal statement, something that has impact with your audience rather than leaves them guessing what you could do for them. And lastly, we want to familiarize yourself with key strategies to brand yourself throughout the job search process. And that includes having a good, solid branding statement or 30-second commercial or whatever we want to call it. And also, how do you apply it in different situations? Our main topics will be the screening process. Within the screening process, applicant tracking systems particularly, and also focusing your job search in a specific target job and a specific marketplace, rather than trying to find just whichever job. I'll show you the value for that as we move along. Then we're going to have an assignment, and at the end, I'm going to show you a branding statement or a sample branding statement, like the one we're going to work with you on video 2. Let's take a look at the screening process. In the past couple of years, even when the economy was at around 4% unemployment, companies still received an average of 250 resumes for each job that they published. Imagine what happens when you add a lot more people in the marketplace. You can expect companies to start getting thousands of resumes for each job that they post. And there is no way for companies to screen every single one of these resumes using a human being. The first thing that most companies do is they run these resumes on an applicant tracking system. What this system does basically is a computer looking for specific keywords on your resume. More than likely, the wording on the job description becomes the keywords that this company is looking for. And then the applicant tracking system will have a percentage of match from your resume to the job description to rank your resume amongst the hundreds or thousands of people who applied. After that, the Human Resources Department, an HR screener, or a recruiter will get a reduced number of resumes and go through them. This person, on average, spends 7 seconds on each resume, which means you have 7 seconds, let's say less than 10 seconds, to make a good first impression. This is one of the main reasons why having a strong statement that describes who you are as a professional from the beginning of your resume is important. The main question they have to answer to themselves is, does this resume sound like what I'm looking for? The last part of this screening process would be a hiring manager, the person who's going to be your next boss. Now, this person actually understands the job. They know the deliverables of the job. They understand the expectations for that position in that company at that point in time. So this is somebody who wants to see more detail on your experience and basically, what is your value proposition to them? For the sake of this conversation today, we're going to focus on the applicant tracking system, the keywords. Now, this is where the majority of resumes get screened out. Let's talk about the applicant tracking system. When you submit your resume to a position, what these systems do, for the most part, is compare the wording on that resume to the wording on the job posting and see how many words actually match. There's different ways of doing this. It could be simply matching directly all the content of the resume to all the content on the job posting. It could do an extraction of specific words or just a word kernel or a word cloud on both documents and see how they match. But the main point is, how many keywords do you match from the job posting? My recommendation is always prepare for the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, every word on that job posting is a keyword. Every word in your resume is going to be considered for to be whether it's a match or not. You can use a service like jobscan.co, C-O, not .com, jobscan.co, where that it allows you to copy and paste your resume, copy and paste the job description, and it gives you a breakdown of how many keywords you match, where did you match them, what did you miss, etc. JobScan, by the way, is free to use for the first couple of times that you use it, and you can pay for the service afterwards. But what you're really trying to do is you're trying to get above a 75% keyword match. Obviously, if you get 100%, that's perfect. 100% will always be better than 99%. But we're trying to help you do a resume that you have to change very little, rather than a resume that you have to modify for each position. So keep in mind that we're trying to get a consistent communication strategy throughout this job search, rather than trying to reinvent who you are for every position. In order for you to do that effectively, you need to focus on a specific type of job and on a specific market. Very often, I've had people come to me saying, Al, I've done in my background, I've done accounting, procurement, logistics, and sales. And I want to have a resume that shows all of those to see which job I can get. The challenge of doing that is that your resume is not going to be particularly strong for any of those areas. You're going to have a resume that is a good example of what you've done in the past, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a good branding strategy for you, because if I have to use 4 different types of skill sets on the same resume, the amount of keywords I'm going to hit from each individual job posting is going to be smaller. And if I have to create 4 different resumes for the 4 different types of jobs that you want, then when you're networking and somebody says, tell me about yourself, you're going to have an issue, because you're not going to know which one to brand. So let's try to focus on one market, one type of job. When I say target a specific job in a specific marketplace, what I mean is a specific type of job. So let's say that you're doing accounting. You do accounts payable, accounts receivable, all of that is a specific type of job. So accounting would be the type of job. Rather than focusing on a specific job, doing a resume to be an accounts payable specialist 3 would be extremely tough, because every company will have a different definition of what that looks like. So think about a specific type of job, the job functions that you would like to do, and then let's work on your resume having that direction. The wider the scope, the harder your job search becomes. Just like I said, you're going to have a communication strategy that doesn't particularly match anything, shows you as a jack of all trades, but really not a master of any. So we want to find that Goldilocks scenario. Your market should not be too big or too small, has to be just right. Not too thin, not too wide, just right. Whenever you're trying to decide what target market to go after, these are some of the items that you can use for consideration. Do you belong in a specific industry? Do you want a specific size of company? Do you have a preferred geographic location? Do you want to go into the office from 8 to 5? Do you want to have a flexible schedule, telecommuting? What are the values of the organization? Do they match what's important to me? Etc. So there's a lot of these different things that you can use for consideration, but not all of them will be applicable to every person. For example, if you have been in the oil and gas industry for the last 10 years, that doesn't necessarily make you an oil and gas professional. If you have been doing logistics, then you're a logistics professional who works in the oil and gas industry. But you're still a logistics professional, so you don't need to focus on the oil and gas industry. On the other hand, if you are a reservoir engineer, then you're going to be mostly tied to the oil and gas industry. Now, whenever you're thinking about your target market, think about what will make the ideal company for me to work with. What is that criteria? And everybody will have a different description of what that is. And if you can't come up with it, just think, the wider you cast your net, the more companies that belong in your target market, the harder it is for you to manage that market. This is where it will be a good idea for you to work with a career coach or a job search professional to help you narrow down what general market are you trying to go after. And also the type of job, whether you're casting a net too wide or too thin on the type of job as well. Now, the idea is, with a specific target market in mind, a specific type of job in mind, now we can create a personal branding statement or personal branding with a consistent message. It doesn't matter where you are or how you are communicating. The information that you're going to give is going to be the same. Not verbatim. The content will be the same. The way of delivering it may be different. You want to have one that focuses on the general profession that you want to pursue. And it shows the areas of expertise within that profession. To give you an example, I am a human resources professional. But when I say human resources, that can also mean benefits, payroll, compensation, and a bunch of other things that I don't really want to do. When I emphasize my areas of expertise, human resources professional with expertise in training, coaching, employment consulting, then that narrows down what I'm trying to do. And the full branding statement should also show not only the key responsibilities of what you can do, but also what is your work style? How do you work with other people, and so on and so forth. We'll talk a lot more about your personal branding on video number 2. Before we do that, we need to start crafting the beginning of your statement. So think about what profession would you fit into. And don't think about profession in terms of the university title or your studies or your certifications. Think profession as to what do you do? I know a lot of people who graduated with a degree in marketing and have never worked in marketing or business administration or whatever the case may be. Is what you do that determines which profession you fit into. It's not what your education is. If you're a recent graduate and you want to work within that, then yes, you are a professional in your field. I'm not saying you can't, but you don't have to be tied to it. Now that we have the basics for what will constitute a good communication strategy, here's what I would like for you to do between now and watching our second video. What I want is for you to identify what are some of the main keywords that you need to utilize for your own brand. So what we're going to do is lengthy but simple. Find multiple job descriptions for the type of job that you want. So again, I'm going to use the same example. You want to do accounting, and you want to focus on accounts payable or accounts receivable or cost accounting or whatever. Find several job descriptions, 10, 15, 20. Obviously, the more you do, the better off you're going to be. And then consolidate the job responsibilities of each one of those positions onto one document. In other words, you're going to have one document with 20 different sets of job responsibilities for the same type of position in different companies. And another document with 20 different sets of qualifications for the same type of position. And then with both documents, you want to categorize them. What are some of the key responsibilities for this type of position? And what are some of the trends that I'm seeing in the way that they describe the job functions, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to use that information to help you craft your communication strategy and your resume, and it will be very instrumental in helping us get past the applicant tracking system.